Alright, what is up, everybody? Welcome to more TNT Championship 2022 games. We are at Premier Group C here. This is the first match one, I should say, of this group. So the winner will advance on to the winner's match, the loser to the loser's match, not an elimination match here. And we've got Arilou versus Kipo. Really excited for this. Both very strong players. Arilou, a previous champion. Kipo always really high on the competitive scene, I feel like, but he's also a little bit more behind the scenes. He likes to cast, he likes to organize events. So excited for this one. It's going to be a best of 5. So let's hop right into it. Okay, spawning in the bottom, we've got Kipo, and over on the left-hand side, Arilou. I love both of these decks. I think I pretty much combine the two when I play. I generally like to go like Squizzard, Camp Falcon, Fox Wolf. I like the Boar Fox here from Kipo. It just feels like a Swiss Army knife build. I don't really envision the Boar and the Fox getting on the field together unless it's just like hyper late game, you know, get everything you possibly can. I feel like it's more of in situation A, which is probably a lot of tier 1, I'll get the Boar, or another situation A would be if Kipo just had a very strong lead and was looking for something to really punch in there and end the game. And then situation B for the Fox would be if Arilou is going for a lot of tier 2, a lot of tier 3. And that might be the case here. Arilou with Cam Falcon Wolf. Pretty old school strategy. I feel like the Cams and the Falcons benefit from the Wolf buff more than most other units, so generally the idea with the deck is to mass up those Cam Falcons and have them scale with the Wolf quite nicely. And Squirrel Mole Mine is just really punchy. I like that a lot. 8 farm Cam coming out of Arilou. Really interesting. We saw that 7 farm Cam out of Tandor last game. Is Kipo going to do anything about this? I don't think he can because he went for a tier 1 mill expansion. I think if he went double tier 1, he could possibly push and try to threaten. But instead, just going to try to match that. I like that move a lot. He's pretty much in the same spot Arilou is, but he's got the mill up a little bit earlier. Yeah, Arilou's Cams will be out a little bit earlier, but it won't really matter. Arilou over here. The cheeky mole. I remember, man, it was a few patches ago, but I remember playing Arilou on the ladder, and for a while we were just all being so greedy that we would go 8 farm mill, right? And you generally couldn't punish it, you know, because, you know, the typical school thought like 8 farm double tier 1, you know, that's pretty standard, pretty safe. But we were cutting that out going to 8 farm straight mill. And then Arilou was the first one I saw when the moles kind of got their big rework that would come in with the moles if you went 8 farm mill and kill your mill. And it was beautiful. Let's see what Arilou's up to here, though. He's maybe threatening a push. Okay, gonna go home. He'll lose a little bit of money off those moles, but pretty negligible. Instead, just gonna go into double cam. So yeah, so far so good. Pretty short rush distance this game, but still both players not pulling the trigger just quite yet. Getting up to second base, multiple cams, in slightly different orders. Alright, Kipo looking to get something done with these cams. Nice sell from Arilou there. It always stinks when something like that happens. Like, I always feel like I'm across the map scouting when something like that happens, you know, and then all my pigs die, and it's like, nice. Ooh, good job there from Arilou. Unstealthing those cams. But yeah, Arilou was in position, was able to sell that farm. So we're in a bit of the farm inning right now. And this makes a lot of sense. Neither player, if you know, if we've pretty much got the same armies, the defender's advantage is pretty big in Tooth and Tail, especially when you get to these high-level matches. So what ends up happening generally is both sides are going to power up and get to some kind of composition or some kind of timing where they feel like they've got something that puts them over the edge of the opponent's defender's advantage. I like this attack from Kipo. I don't think it's going to work, but I do like how Kipo actually took that a little bit away from the base of Arilou. He wasn't fighting in the mills. He wasn't fighting in the pig line or the warrens. Those mines did really nicely for Arilou, though, at the beginning of that exchange, and I do think Arilou came out on top, but that was a nice job from Kipo. I think it really illustrated how to, like, attack correctly, you know, into a defender's advantage there. So, Kipo gonna come home for now. 16 farms on both sides. We see that wolf get thrown down from Arilou. Kipo really needs to scout this. This is actually really important, because Kipo needs the opportunity to throw out his response to the wolf, whatever that may be. I would like to see a fox. I think that makes sense. I mean, as counterintuitive as that sounds, like, yeah, the wolf buff is going to give units extra speed that they can catch the fox, but generally when you're going into wolf, you get a lot of tier 2 with it, which the fox is good against. Gonna be a fox here from Kipo, a little bit blind, but it's about time, you know, for a tier 3. It makes sense. 5-minute mark, 16 farms. This is kind of where you put the icing on the cake on your composition. Now, with the new wolf, though, curious how this is going to work. The new wolf gives a lot of tier 1 buffs and a long tier 1 buff, which might be the strongest aspect of it. I haven't really theory crafted it. I don't know, maybe someone in chat can yell at me and say no. Getting your buffs on the tier 2 are still better, which probably are. But the tier 1 buff just, I mean, it lasts so long now, doesn't it? Isn't it like 20 seconds or something? "36 seconds on tier 1? Good God. Alright, Kipo's moving in. Kipo actually sold the, I wasn't paying attention, he sold the fox after he saw the wolf, and he wanted to try to come in here before the wolf got here, and Kipo might have actually just done it. Arilou trying to clean up with the cams. The wolf gets here to throw out its buff. But will there be enough? All these squirrels need to get their buff. Actually, the wolf just in time is going to have enough, but Kipo did a ton of damage to that second base. And the question is, can Kipo scramble together enough of an army to sway off this counterattack? I think Kipo's fine losing that third base. But look at all these squirrel buffed wolf buff squirrels. I mean, the buff just lasts so long on tier 1 now. Kipo's starting to push Arilou back, though. And when the dust settles, maybe Kipo might come out on top. I mean, the main base is fully mined out at this point. Arilou losing those pigs on the second base is worrying me a little bit. I think Kipo did a good job of selling off Warrens, kind of deciding what to pick, what to take. He's going to rock with just 4 cams at the moment as the main core of the army. And Kipo needs to decide, do I try to tango with this wolf buff, or do I just focus on a third base economy? It looks like Kipo wants to move in, get the right angle here, gonna turn around, decide, actually, you know what, I'm just gonna go for the third for now. Maybe if he can deny Arilou the third. Arilou is rebuilding these pigs on this second base, so he might be thinking the third is a bridge too far. I'm so scared for this wolf army, though. It's pretty chonky. 4 cams in here. Kipo gonna take the engagement, try to hold his ground, but that wolf buff is just dominating through everything. On that big attack Kipo did, it seemed like he did a lot of damage, but he didn't quite do enough. I guess he had to have, obviously if he killed the mill there, that would have been game, but I think he had to have killed that wolf. With the wolf living, I mean, we just saw how much that really helped Arilou just smash through everything there. Okay, let's hop into game number 2. Up top, Kipo, and in the left, Arilou. Same decks as last time. A little bit of a bigger map. The short map didn't stop these guys from getting into 2-base play, though. I think that's generally kind of the meta at the higher end. Tooth and Tail is getting up into those 16 farms. Because one base play is ultimately pretty risky. Oh, here we go. Arilou throwing the mole right in front of Kipo. Kipo responds accordingly, but the real question is, will this pig be out in time? I don't think so. Arilou has this stuff mapped down very quickly, and this is not looking good for Kipo. Oh no, this war going down as well. Tons of damage here for Arilou. Already had that 5th farm on the way as well. This is rough for Kipo. If this was a ladder game, you might just tap out of frustration and be like, alright, let me try again. But it is not. It's a tournament match, and Kipo needs this win, so he's going to stay in it. That was a tough call from Kipo, whether or not to keep that pig. I don't know. I feel like if I was against a worse player, I probably would have tried to keep the pig, but against somebody like Arilou, I mean, you got to know Arilou wouldn't put the war in there and try it if it wasn't gonna, if he didn't have enough time, you know. Kipo responding with a 4-farm double, though. Arilou is ready for this. So Kipo is definitely down this game. So if I'm Kipo, I understand the double tier 1 pretty quickly. Just like, well, maybe if Arilou went straight into 8 farms, you can get something done there. But I think Kipo wants this game to drag out. That's really how Kipo is going to recoup his losses. I mean, maybe if he can get something done with these lizards, but it's actually a pretty hard map for lizards to be jerks on. You know, there's not a lot of wiggling around to the backside anywhere. Kipo gonna try again though, and there's no reason not to. I mean, Kipo doesn't have to commit with these lizards, and if he does find like a Warren or anything like that, it's gonna help him get back into this. But I think Kipo's okay. He needs to try to play an eco game, because the food difference is gonna matter less and less. You know, if you're up 100 food when 500 food has been mined, that's huge, but if you're up 100 food when 3,000 food has been mined, it's not as big of a deal. Ooh, losing these lizards here for Kipo, though. And Arilou knew. This was really smart from Arilou as well. I think this actually highlights what makes a really good Tooth and Tail player, because attacking is so difficult. This decision-making that Arilou made here to commit with these tier 1 units, because he gets the advantage here up front, right? Kills a Warren, kills a pig, loses like a mole, if that. A little bit of mole Warren selling. And then look at this from Arilou. He knows he's got the lead. He knows what Kipo needs to do, one of two things to get back into this game. Either find some damage with the lizards, which Kipo tries, or drag this out into like a 16-farm 2-base game. So Arilou just, you know, calmly builds up to 9 squirrels. Couple moles here, and again, I think this really highlights why moles are actually pretty good, because I don't think this attack really works without them, at least not as well. And he just pushes in. He knows he's got about 100 food lead, and that really matters a lot in this early game. And Kipo tapped out, yeah, right when those lizards hit that rally. So Arilou gonna go up 2 games. And this is a tough position for Kipo. That was a hard loss. So hopefully Kipo, you know, doesn't get tilted. It can show us some good games here. We can bring this to game number 5. Up top, we've got Kipo, and in the bottom, Arilou. Same decks. I actually really like Arilou's style. It's a shame. I feel like I rushed my group a little bit and played when I wasn't fully practiced yet. But so many people are active in Tooth and Tail right now. I might just hop on the ladder, be a ladder bro for you guys still in the tournament to practice against. But I really like Arilou's deck here. I think it's a really good combo of early game, mid game, and late game. I think the moles add a lot of flexibility to it, especially doing things like, you know, that mole. I mean, that mole rush won the game. Let's be frank. You know, everything after the mole rush was just kind of finishing the painting. You know, the mole rush was the sketch. The squirrel push was the fine coloring. So yeah, so I mean, Squirrel Mine is actually really strong. I think that's one thing I want to utilize a little bit better. I've seen some players do a great job of mines. Tander actually comes to mind when thinking about mines. I think he understands how to use them well. QQ also, but a couple mines here or there can really make or break a fight. It's an interesting unit because it is a defensive structure in theory, right? So you don't want to overcommit to them and have too many mines early, not really doing anything. But I think in the mid game, it's a good addition, right? Like if you're on a 2-base economy, you don't really care if you have 4 or 5 mines out on the map. They can act as wards, give you a little bit of heads up, extra vision on army movements. They can definitely make or break these big tier 1 fights. They do okay against the cams. And I love the concept of moles. You know, being able to do that, or just having the threat of that early game cheese to put your opponent on their toes. And also, moles really help timing pushes or big attacks that wouldn't work if you didn't. You just need those like few extra units, you know, to tank and deal a little bit of damage. And then of course Chameleons are a great mid game unit, and rounding that out with Wolf Falcon. I mean, Wolf just seems so good right now, outside of tier 3 in my opinion. You know, Mass tier 1 buff with Wolf is great. Cam Falcon buff with Wolf is great. Arilou being cheeky here. Maybe gonna go for a timing? Yeah. And this is what I mean about the moles. Like, the moles are really what gives Arilou the advantage in this fight. So the question is, are the moles enough to get Arilou ahead of the defender's advantage? Especially with these mines here, if Kipo starts getting cheeky, starts following the army too much. Kipo knows about the mines, but here we go. I mean, pretty much similar army numbers, except for Arilou's got these moles here. And yeah, Arilou just smashing through this army. And Kipo knows that's GG. Arilou making the moles look very good. Sweeping a 3-0 victory. And I think Tanner in the chat was saying Arilou is now going to go up against Tatanka. And Sasha going against Kipo next. So really loaded group here. So congrats to Arilou for advancing on to the winners to the winners match. I guess that was a little misleading.